Hi, welcome to episode 56. 56 of the Brewgooders, the dynamic duo league of beers, comics, and other things. I'm Jeff, this is Colin. And we're going to we've not got a guest this week because Britain, Scotland is effectively open-ish again for the first time in ages, and I think folk are just really busy. So lockdown is well and truly over. It kind of felt like it was that way last week, actually, but I don't know. So until the next global pandemic. But yeah, we just thought we would blather about the beers and comics that we've been drinking and eating and reading. No, we don't read a comic. I'm absolutely shared, man. I'm talking absolute nonsense. Let's go.
I'm quite hungry.
What are you drinking beer-wise today?
Oh, well, tonight I have brought along a Goose IPA from Goose Island Brewing. We were in Chicago, I think.
Yeah.
And I got this as part of a Beer Hawk box, which I got for my birthday. I'm quite enjoying this one. It's really nice. Nice, typical citrusy IPA. A different kind of range of hops in there.
Yeah.
It's a big award winner. It's won loads of awards in America. I think you can get it in some shops here. I'm pretty sure you can get it in some of the supermarkets.
I recognise it, but also I don't know who I was interviewing. I want to say it was either Luke Stone or Alex DeLuca earlier in the year, and when I asked them about their beer, it was, I think Goose Island was one of them. Said, Goose Island IPA is my go-to.
Yeah, it's good. And you can get it on Amazon. You can buy like 12 packs on Amazon for about 15 or 16 quid.
Yeah.
So you can get it, and that's the thing with reviewing craft beer. If it's from far afield, and sometimes it's difficult to get, but it is something that is you can grab it, and it's really nice. I can't knock it at all. It's a lovely IPA. I've had, I think I got 3 of those in my beer box, and that's my last one. I think really enjoy it. I think I've got another. There's another beer from Goose Island as well. Can't remember what it's called, but I'll if I've got any left, I'll bring it on the show sometime.
Yeah, those beer boxes are quite hard. I love them, and I love the fact that every month you get, if you maintain your subscription, every month you'll get different beers delivered to your door. But what I found in the couple of boxes I've had, you end up finding something absolutely awesome, and then it's really tricky to get a hold of that beer, which I think quite challenging. I always remember the first one I got, where it was Beer 52, we're doing a special event where they'd done a collaboration with various central London restaurants.
Yeah, I remember it well, yeah.
It was good. The stuff was amazing, and there were some really, really good beers in there, but they were craft brewed in one batch for that specific month of Beer 52. But also I picked up
Sorry.
You just watching Superman, eh? Was that Superman?
I don't know what it was. Something just clicked.
I'm drinking this Innis and Guns Tropic Like It's Hop.
That's not one I've had.
Innis and Gunn are an Edinburgh-based brewer. I don't know. Yeah. I think this is a funny one in that this specific beer is craft brewed, but I don't think Innis and Gunn are categorised as a craft brewer. I don't know if that would be correct.
Yeah, they grew pretty quickly, I think, Innis and Gunn. Mm-hmm. For me, anyway, they came out of nowhere and suddenly were just everywhere.
Yeah.
So obviously had good marketing. I mean, they might have been kind of under the radar a little bit, very kind of localised, and then suddenly got a good kind of marketing deal or something. But yeah, they came out of nowhere as far as I'm concerned, and now they're starting to expand their varieties a little bit. They pretty much had 1 or 2 beers that were decent beers and sold everywhere, and now it seems like they're experimenting a bit with new stuff.
Yeah, totally. This is okay. So this is like a passion fruit pale ale. I've had it before. I had it at their shop. Not their shop. They've got like a pub on Lothian Road, and I went there earlier this year, and it was admittedly the only pint on the bar that was less than a £5, which is the reason I purchased it. But I did really, really enjoy it at the time. it's really punchy. Also it's really punchy. It's really nice on the nose without being totally overpowering. But also, I picked up an Aldi. I think I was either an Aldi one or an Asda one. I can't remember where I picked them up. But just a really good quality beer for a relatively low price. So I was just glad to happen. Innocent Gunner. I quite like them. I say I wouldn't know if I don't know if they class themselves as a craft brewer anymore, but certainly I think their lager in particular is really popular, and you can pick that up in quite a lot of pubs up this way. So
that's right. Yeah.
Cool. What have you been looking at comic wise this week?
Well, it's a little bit of a revisit to a couple of things. So I've got the last issue of Hotel. So we had writer John Lees on the show a few weeks ago.
Oh, of course we did.
And I thought I'd revisit this again because it does actually wrap up a little niggling thing I had about an earlier issue. So that's there. And the other comic that we're kind of revisiting is issue 2, and this requires a bit of theatre, for this. But
right. That was Superman.
So issue 2 of the 77 is out. And I've got some news about this as well. Some exclusive news. So and I've got the T-shirt as well.
I like how you blew that earlier. I wonder. I thought when
I did. I blew it. I accidentally tapped the button on the laptop.
Did I get kudos for recognising John Williams' Superman theme from the opening bar?
I think everybody that heard it knew what it was immediately.
I like your T-shirt, man. That's real cool. As a fan of comic, as a fan of merch, and any, I was a wrestling fan for years. So if you could buy a T-shirt from anybody, you would just buy it. When I was involved in wrestling, so I love comics merch. That's if you can go to a convention and get like badges and shit, like I love that stuff.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't expensive at all in terms of the backing it on Kickstarter. It's what £7 or £8 for the comic by itself.
Mm-hmm.
And 25 quid got you the comic, got you the T-shirt, and got you a whole bunch of other things. So I got a little postcard, which is the front cover of issue 1. So I got that. I got the poster from one of the stories, Division 77.
Yeah.
So a little poster there, a bit of artwork as well. And also, and this is as a nod to 2000 AD, because way back they had a character called Mark 1, who was a kind of bionic man, $6 million man type character. And he had bionic sort of things. And one of the freebies that you got, free gifts with 2000 AD was a set of his bionic kind of stickers. So you could kind of stick them on your body and pretend to be Mark 1. So they've done the same. They've done this with the 77 as a little bit of a nod to 2000 AD. So they've got Banksy's Biomaniac stickers. So that, I'm sure lots of people will never use these. They'll get put away, encased in carbonite in case they might something in the future.
They are amazing though, and that's one of the things I really like about backing stuff on Kickstarter is you often do get wee bits and pieces. It's again, it's something I like about comic conventions as well. And I was going to ask you actually, because I know I've done it. I know you've done it in the past with your comics. Obviously, we've both done Kickstarters. We've both done awards where you got alongside your comic, you got postcards or things like that. Do you sell your stuff on your tables? Do you sell like these kind of perks on your tables as well?
Yes, I do. I like postcard sets and things, which I do sell. People just fancy having them.
I was going to say, how well received do they tend to be? Do you think?
Not bad. They don't sell as much as the comics. That's for certain. But I think it's nice to have a range of things at different prices. So if somebody doesn't particularly fancy a comic, but there might be a they like artwork or they like badges or whatever. It's nice to have something else
totally.
for those people on your table, So just have a range of things, because a comic might be a fiver, but a badge might be 50p or something. And every little bit helps, I suppose, if you're trying to pay for your table and your transport to comic conventions. So
totally.
T-shirts I'm not so bothered about. I've never done a T-shirt. I've had T-shirts of my own which I would wear to cons, but I've never done them as rewards, because I think they're quite, they're a bit of a risk, because you never know what sizes to get printed, and do you want it to your people put in their orders first, and then it might take a long time before you can fulfill their order. So I've never done T-shirts. I've been kind of put off by T-shirts by other comic creators who've done T-shirts in the past. But the 77 fulfilled within a couple of days, so
I think that's really banging. That T-shirt reminds me of the ones when you used to buy, like, well, I suppose you could probably still do it. You used to buy like the Beano or old Marvel comics in the 90s, and you had that page at the back where you could, like, if you subscribed, it would send you a bunch of stuff, including a T-shirt. That's kind of what that reminds me of. It's pretty old school looking. It's really cool. And I got it like quite soon after I started teaching, and I've still got it. I've got a pendant badge from when we went to see Alison Sampson at the at the World Shop of Heroes, and I've got a heart pendant that's like probably like kids ask me it quite a lot. Like, what is it? Because it's not a love heart. It looks like
it looks like a real heart.
Yeah, but I've had it on my pendant for years, and I think most people just assume it's like a British Heart Foundation thing or something like that. So, but I've had it on my. Well, that's what 3 years we went to see Alison Sampson, but it's just really good quality, and it means that I'm still like a loyal family. I'm a loyal follower of the Hart family or whatever that. I can't remember what the name of the cult in Winnebago Graveyard was.
Graveyard,
and I have lost it, so I'm waiting for the conventions to open back up so I can grab another one off him. But when I met James Lawrence last year, he was selling little pin badges that were I believe in La Mariposa. They're a lot of badges. I think I maybe paid £1 for them, and I had them on my lanyard, but I've lost them. So they are really cool. And as I say, like, it's that community aspect of comics that I think is really, really nice, that you can if, like, I suppose La Mariposa is, I would hope is quite a good example in that, like, you want to be a fan because it's a comic where you have a fandom.
It signals your fandom to other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Often it's a way it sparks a conversation because you're wearing a badge or a T-shirt that you recognise and you're a fan yourself.
Yeah.
So it's a good way to kind of get to know people because you just have something in common.
Totally. So how's the comic? I've got it. Actually, Banksy emailed me yesterday.
Which comic is that?
Sorry, the 77. Banksy emailed me yesterday with me a copy and has agreed to come on a future show. But he sent me it last night, and I went back to work this week and haven't been able to like properly read proper things. Mm-hmm. So I missed it. That's the other one.
Yeah. So yeah, it's good. It's better than the issue 1, and the reason is because of it's better than issue 1, and the reason is because the continuing stories have gotten to a point where you don't have to do the exposition and stuff, and actually get onto the storytelling. And that's always the case when a brand new story starts. Like in 2000 AD, just a few weeks ago, they started a new story called The Out. And there's a Facebook group that has a poll every week, and you vote on what your favourite stories were each week in 2000 AD. And The Out, for the first few weeks, was right at the bottom, as nobody particularly liked it. But it's now gotten to a stage where the story's picked up, you're starting to feel for the character, you're getting an idea about what's happening, and it's right up there at the top. It's beating Judge Dredd and all the other stories that have been around for a while. And it's a bit like that with the 77 issue 2, is we've gotten to a stage where we're actually getting into the guts of the story and interesting things are starting to happen. So there's loads of stories. There must be about I don't know, 11 stories or something, 10 maybe.
I haven't checked, but that's the one that I did notice when I was looking at it. I don't know how the story count compares to issue 1 because I didn't actually go and check. But it struck me that it's because it's been billed as like the 77 summer special. Is that right? So
yes, that's right. Yeah.
So it feels I don't know. I haven't taken the time to compare the two, but it does seem like there's a bigger page count and much more stories in this one.
I'm not sure. I think it's the same. 10 stories, about 6 pages each.
Okay.
And then once you've got your covers and other bits, 68 pages, I think was what issue 1 was. It feels it is substantial. It's a big book. Let's face it. It's bigger than your weekly comics or your monthly comics, but that's because it's less frequent. But we'll come to the news about that soon. So we've got continuing story V, which is a kind of futuristic gladiator type story. I wasn't sure at all where that was going. I wasn't certain about it at all with issue 1. But issue 2, the story takes a little twist towards the end and suddenly just makes it a bit more interesting.
Oh, good.
The same with The Prodigal was an ongoing story. They've changed this a little bit and they've gone for this duotone colour scheme rather than full colour. I don't know why, but maybe it's the pressures of keeping up, with a quite a rapid turnaround for producing the comic. Again, that's got a little bit of a twist and stuff in it, and a wee bit more of the backstories being introduced. So great, that's shaping up nicely. Then we've got a brand new story called Jericho 5. And this is a story where we've got a cop. I'm not sure what sort of era. It doesn't look... 70s, I think, judging by his outfit. 70s in USA. But he's got this otherworldly space being that inhabits his body and kind of helps him out a little bit with these cases, it seems. It's a bit like... There's an old British TV show called Randall and Hopkirk Deceased.
Oh, Deceased, yeah.
And it basically was a cop and his deceased colleague who came back as a ghost and helped him out. It was remade with Bob Mortimer and Vic Reeves.
Yeah, but
they remade it 10 years ago or something.
Very much with their tongue in their cheek, though.
Yeah. So it's kind of got that kind of feel about it, but it's a like an alien that's life form that's inhabited his body. I love
that wee twist on the buddy cop thing. That's just a
the
buddy cop formula is such an awesome thing anyway, in that you can. Like you can do a mismatched buddy cop thing and it'd be quite good anyway. But to play around with the formula and
that's pretty much what 2000 AD did as well back in the day. And that like I mentioned, Mark 1, who was basically just a British $6 million man.
Yeah.
Judge Dredd was a bit sort of Dirty Harry in the future, and a range of other stories at that time were kind of picking up on what was culturally relevant at the time and putting a little twist on it. And I think that's what they're trying to do with the 77. However, it's a twist on things back in the 70s rather than, stuff that's current, which might be a good thing, might not be. Certainly nostalgia-wise, and for people who grew up with 2000 AD, it's probably a good thing. Maybe less so for attracting new readers who might not get the kind of cultural references.
It's trying to get that reference because, like, if you can get that right, it's perfect. What was I watching? I was watching a film the other day, and I had that same feeling. It felt like they were trying to capture something, and by not capturing it properly, it felt funny and it felt totally forced and not real. But like, I admittedly haven't felt that when I read 77 issue 1. I did feel like I was harking. Obviously, it's very much a spiritual successor to 2000 AD. You can feel what they're trying to do, but I didn't feel at any point thinking like this is just somebody trying to do a new 2000 AD. So it's good to hear.
Because it was new enough. The stories were new enough and different enough it didn't feel like it was trying to rip them off or anything.
No, totally.
So when we did speak to Banksy, the editor, a few weeks back. We also had Brendan Wright, all the way from New Zealand, joining us that night, kind of halfway through the show. So he's got a series now called Martian Law, and he was telling us about it at the time.
He told us about that, yeah.
And it's kind of comedic cop story set on Mars. Obviously, Earth has colonised Mars sometime in the future, though it feels and looks like the 1950s. The space rockets have got that 50s feel. The outfits have got that. There's an American diner that's straight out of the 50s. Kind of Back to the Future era.
Yeah,
that's kind of what it is. And he's also writing this story as well. So it's very alliterative. So the first story is The Curious Case of the Bottled Brains at Bill and Blake's Banjo Bar. And it goes on like that. So it might be a take it or leave it kind of humour. I quite enjoyed it. I did like a nice light touch.
I certainly enjoyed talking to Brendan and feeling like I thought he was a fantastic dude. So
it's very cartoony and bright and colourful, like his previous story that he did.
Yeah, totally.
So I did pretty awesome.
Strike Me Down, the mighty Tharg may strike me down for saying this, but I really liked the art of the story that he did in 77 issue 1. I thought the art style was really good and it matched the tone of the story. I just thought the story itself was a bit too. I felt like, have you ever been like out with a group of folk and there's a group joke that you're like, I went to a stag do about 3 years ago and it came up on my Facebook. This is the only reason I remember it. And I remember saying to my wife that I was on a stag do with my mate Gav, and my mate Gav is former RAF. So the rest of the stags were all his RAF pals. And I spent most of the weekend feeling like I was in a joke. There was a joke going on that I didn't understand, and it probably not in the forces. And I kind of felt a wee bit like that with that Steve McManus, Brendan's Wright story from 77. And I thought, I felt like there'd been several. I know it was supposed to come across. The vibe was supposed to feel like it was the ongoing adventures of this this band. But I just remember thinking, I felt like there was a joke there that I wasn't aware of, and because I wasn't aware of that joke and that punchline, I was missing other jokes. So hopefully, the Martian Law, with us starting at the beginning with something that hopefully will be ongoing. I know Brendan's written Martian Law for a while. I believe he's written it for a while.
I think so. Yeah, he's been working on that for a long time.
Yeah.
Got a few of the other stories. Division 77 continues. I kind of get the feeling that might be almost the Judge Dredd story that continues all the time.
Yeah, I felt it reminded me of a Rogue Trooper, kind of, when I read.
It's kind of got that, though it takes a little twist again. This one, good. Which is good, and bizarrely Morgan Freeman turns up in it, he's not named, but it looks like Morgan Freeman. And when I read it in his voice. So that was quite good. There's a couple of kind of one-off stories. Penny Pentagram's back. And in a better, bigger story this time round.
That was one of my highlights of issue 1, though. I thought Penny Pentagram was something I really enjoyed in issue 1. So
because I think it was kind of fun, but it was kind of a modern take on Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Definitely.
And it's got more of that vibe this time round. Another new ongoing story, Gut Crawlers. Which is beautifully illustrated by Paul Williams, written by Dan Whitehead. This is interesting. This is space travel. The only way to do space travel is you need these special crystals that only grow in the belly of space whales. So it follows these fishermen that go out in space to get these crystals, and the only way to do it is they harpoon the animals and then go inside them, harvest the crystals, and obviously then sell them on. Quite an interesting start, but of course there's a added element of danger here. Plus there's rivals that are after these crystals as well. So that looks promising. Interesting story called The Cell with really, really gorgeous artwork here. From Andrew Sawyers. Again, that's going to be something that's continuing. And then some other kind of little one-off stories, and then maybe another continuing story called Undertow. And this looks like something set in a kind of apocalyptic world that's been flooded. It's not clear what's happening here in the story, but it seems that there's this guy who's maybe going out into the flooded territories to salvage things and then take them back to the villages, the little stilted villages that humans are living in. It's unclear at this stage. It's issue 1. It'll become clear next time we see the next part of the story. And what else have we got here? Well, just to finish up, Ghastly United is a football story mixed with horror.
Nice. I like that.
So this is something really different. I'm not going to spoil it too much, but this is written by Barry Tomlinson. Barry was editor and writer back in the 70s on loads of comics. Worked with people like Ian Kennedy, and all the big names. So he's come and done this new story, this horror-related comedy football strip, and so far so good. It's quite entertaining. Yep. So that's pretty much summing up the 77. But the news is issue 3 and subsequent issues are going to be every 2 months now.
Yeah, that's it.
So instead of kind of quarterly, they're pushing them out every 2 months. And issue 3 is going on Kickstarter tomorrow.
Yeah. For
only just over 2 weeks. So it'll finish, I think, 2 weeks on Sunday. So it's going to be a shorter space of time. And they're going to be coming out more regularly.
Sure.
And they've got pretty much content up until, for about issue 6 is kind of already there, which is pretty amazing. But they are still looking for new stories and artists to come on board.
So that's amazing.
So yeah, I did get a little sneak peek at their Kickstarter. Loads of interesting stuff on there. Loads of commissioned artwork, signed prints, signed scripts. And some of these are by, pretty famous people now that the 77 has managed to get on board. There's amazing sculptures of Banksy that you can get. Yeah.
Is he moving furniture in the sculpt? Is the sculptor carrying a bed frame?
Well, if it was, I'd buy it. I'd have that. I'd have 2. But it's sculpted by the guy who did the Rock of the Red statue for John Wagner and Dan Connor.
That's quite special. Eh?
Yeah. So they're putting up loads of prints, like I say, signed scripts and things, and loads of extra rewards. You can even be drawn into one of the stories, I believe. It's going to be one of the rewards that's coming up. So I'm hoping I'm not spoiling anything by this, but it's coming out tomorrow anyway. So
like a Kickstarter.
You'll all see it tomorrow on Kickstarter.
Yeah. So at 77 Comic on Twitter. I think it's at 77 Comic on Facebook as well. So
this 77 Comic on Facebook's.
This 77. But yeah, if you just Google them, you'll get links to their site, and imagine I'll try and find the Kickstarter link and put it on the show notes, but you don't have to look very, very far to find them, and we'll share them on the Facebook page as well. I think you already did, actually.
Yeah, I'll fire up the as soon as the Kickstarter goes live, I'll share that so people can get on it, and you can get the previous issues as well. I think either digitally or in print as well. So if you want to catch up with it, but it's a great point to be jumping on because you're getting kind of bigger chunks of the story, so they're starting to ramp up and get quite exciting now.
I mean, it feels like the momentum for this is heading up all the time. I can't imagine. I don't know. I've not spoken. Well, obviously, we're hoping to get Banksy on again quite soon. I don't know what the plan is. Obviously, they've got the comics planned for the next 6 months. For the next 6 issues, I should say, ish. I'm interested to see how the business of the 77 itself develops, because obviously it wasn't that long. It feels like it was longer because of lockdown, I think, but it wasn't that long ago that we had Banksy on here who was calling the 77 a quarterly comic. So the fact that they've knocked they're going from 4 a year to 6 a year, is incredible. So I can't imagine where this is going to be in a year's time. Obviously, we're going to be 6.
Yeah, absolutely, and they certainly have lots of plans. Banksy was telling me about lots of plans that they've got for kind of spin-offs and stuff.
Yeah.
So I can only hope that it does continue and this can get increased and continued support, because I really love it. I'm enjoying it more than 2000 AD at the moment. In fact, I've been getting 2000 AD during lockdown for about the past 10 weeks or so, and it's just not grabbing me. In fact, I didn't even go and pick one up this week because I thought, I'm not bothered.
I've got one in my drawer in the shop, so I can't avoid them. But they're I am. I did read the ones that you gave me, because obviously I missed the first couple of issues of the jumping arc that they did a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. There was a Future Shock in there. I forgot I really enjoyed Future Shocks. To the point that I've noticed Humble. Have you seen the company Humble that do like?
Yes.
They do games and comic. They do loads of things, and if you pay X amount of money, they release certain perks.
Yeah, they're doing a whole bunch of books by Rebellion just now, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Loads. And it's Judge Dredd case files, it's Absalom, Slain.
The first year's a couple of quid, and then obviously it moves up, and then the more money you put in.
But for 12 quid you can get about 40 books or something. Yeah. It's incredible value.
Yeah, it's amazing value. I noticed there's loads of Future Shocks there, and I forgot that I actually forgot about Future Shocks until so for those that aren't familiar with them, they are one-off short stories that appear periodically in 2000 ADs. There was a really interesting one, and the one that you lent me, about a flat earther trying to find the edge of the earth to prove a point. And then obviously in doing so he discovers some pretty horrific things about reality, which I thought was great. I really enjoyed it. And it was like a series of jokes about different interpretations of what reality was, which was really funny, including there was a joke in it, I think, a really beautiful nod to Terry Pratchett, and then a really beautiful nod to just a multiverse theory as well. And it was all
they're totally
all from the perspective of flat earther. I was like, this is great.
For non-comic people, Future Shocks are pretty much the comic equivalent of things like Black Mirror, Inside Number 9. These kind of one-off stories that have a real twist in the tale. Sometimes, often to do with technology and things, but not quite. The first story in issue 1 of the 77 was like that. The one about the punk that finds So that was a very Future Shock kind of story. Yeah,
it was good. I enjoyed it tremendously. What have you started a new beer?
No, I've only got this one tonight.
Can I say, I've been dipping into Fierce recently. I had a couple of Fierce for my birthday, and was quite disappointed, to be honest. But I do have a couple of friends that totally swear by Fierce Brewing. I've been invited along to their place in Edinburgh quite soon by my mate James, because he has he's part of some sort of beer club that they get coupons off money, they get money off Fierce.
Oh, right, okay.
And so he's been pointing me in the direction of, knowing what I drink, he's been pointing me in the direction of Fierce beers that he thinks I would enjoy. So he suggested this Kranakin Killer, which is a raspberry oat pale ale.
Oh, I think I've had that one. Yes, I have. I have had it. Yeah.
It's lovely, actually. I think raspberry in general is one of my favourite flavours of anything. So if you can put raspberry in something, I'm automatically going to enjoy it exponentially. And this is lovely. It's a beautiful colour as well, for those that can see it. I'm drinking out of my Dunfermline Beer Festival Gold Cup today, so I can't tip it to see it, but it's this beautiful like ruby red colour, just really oaty, and it's got a really nice little raspberry sting in it.
Yeah, it's good. Oh, I did like it. Do you follow Fierce Beer on Twitter at all?
I don't. I have I have a couple of their cafes on Facebook, but I don't have their actual.
They're Aberdeenshire based, and obviously Aberdeen's under a lockdown at the moment because of the COVID outbreaks caused by people going to pubs and going pub crawls.
Yeah.
And Fierce are really living up to their name on Twitter. There's some fierce and cutting comments on Twitter.
Were these the guys that did not post did not post like an open letter that was basically Godin's not the right word, inviting Aberdeen City Council to actually look at who dropped the ball with their lockdown restrictions, and saying like like, because of these, I think they use a sweary word, but said like because of these arseholes, we're all struggling. I hope that those with power are taking notice. I don't know. Cool. Well done, Bruce.
Yeah. So Fierce are up there with Pilot in terms of their Twitter.
For their Twitter game. You need to get Pilot on Twitter. They're amazing.
Yeah, if you aren't following them on Twitter, you got to check out Pilot. They're just awesome. Yeah. Very funny.
And talking about raspberry, probably my favourite beer of the year so far. One that I know you haven't tried them. I'm trying to get hold of the cans, but they're. I'm going to actually go check and see if they've got them up at the Caledonian Craft Beer Merchant this weekend. My understanding is it's really popular. It's a really popular and quite a tricky can to get. They have a raspberry stout called The Sun Always Shines on Raspberry. I reviewed it months ago. I absolutely adore that. Pilot are probably one of my favourite brewers, actually. A small Edinburgh-based brewer. But there's a place in Leith that have this specific stout on cask. So I'm just waiting. October holidays. My mind has been like lockdown are going to ease long enough that we can start doing brew tours again. And that's going to be one of these places I want to hit. Is some of there's a couple of places down Leith, like little small like micro brewery producing places that we were meant to go to earlier.
Cool. And there's that brewer, the van, the like brew van or something. And there's
it's like it's a camper van, isn't it? Like the camper van brewery is what it's called, I think.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one.
And there's a couple of pubs. There's that place I went to, Woodland Creatures, that I went to earlier in the year that I really enjoyed on Leith Walk. I just want to do a Leith-based pub crawl because I know Pilot are quite big.
Well, we're going to do Dundee as well because we've got loads of comic creators in the Dundee area who I'm sure will come and join us. And 71's just opened a beer garden this week.
Totally. Yeah, I saw you said that the other day. Oh, it's exciting to be a Central Scotland beer drinker if you enjoy travelling. That's Jonathan McKinstry saying that he'd also had the Cranachan and he enjoyed it too. And what I love about craft beers in general is that more often than not they'll tell you where they were inspired by their names and stuff like that. And I learned quite a lot just by reading cans of beer tins. And Fierce have quite happily said that I didn't realise Cranachan was a traditional Scottish dessert.
Have you never had that?
I've not, and I'm going to have to go and get it. A raspberry themed dessert. Yeah,
shortbread, raspberry, sort of creamy stuff on the top.
That sounds amazing. That sounds really good.
Sort of sometimes I think it's got oatmeal in it.
Yeah.
I've had it a few times, different places.
Cool.
It's fairly simple. It's easy to make.
All right. Thinking, Jamie, I was gonna sarcastically name a chef after you, and I couldn't think of any celebrity chefs there. Who's the lady?
Heston Blumenthal.
I wasn't thinking. I was thinking of the women.
He's bald as well.
I was thinking of the women that makes the really the really innuendo laden like television programs. What's her name?
The dark hair. Not Fanny Craddock.
No.
I don't remember. I don't remember her, but I've seen.
Folk talking about that. Right, can we go back to that beer and?
Right, sorry.
Beer, comics, and desserts. You mentioned a couple of weeks ago about like we should talk a wee bit about Kickstarters that we're interested in back because we both done quite a lot. I just backed this earlier today because I spend a wee bit of time on Kickstarter like most people do, having a wee scroll around, and I thought this looked really cool. So this is called the Oz or the OZ. This is a fantasy classic reimagined for comics. I just thought this was really, really good. If you're into comics and you want to try something new, you should probably just have a wee scroll along Kickstarter because you get some really, really interesting stuff. So this is by David Pepos. It's the Wizard of Oz reimagined as a fantasy war story. Looking at the cover and just looking at some of the artwork, it isn't like the Wizard of Oz set in a modern war setting. I think there is elements of modern war and also, as you can see from here, elements of fantasy as well. Yeah, just really, it just looks absolutely fabulous. I quite like retreads of stories that we all know anyway. So because it's like, as you can imagine, it gives the reader the ability to be excited for what comes up. And like I said, even just here that what the war is between presumably a good protagonist side and the Wicked Witch of the West and her flying monkey folk. So yeah, I thought this looked really cool. I like to deliberately kind of back really funky looking stuff, or stuff that I consider to be really funky, because obviously the other thing I backed last week was a treasure hunter series set in Surrey, so I can't really suggest that that's funky. But yeah, I just thought that looks really good. I'll put the link in the show notes for that. I just thought it was really interesting. Quite a strong team of very well established writers and artists working together to put something together that looks and sounds quite beautiful. So
yeah, it's a fairly common thing in comics, I think, to go and raid kind of out of copyrights kind of stories and kind of remake them or reimagine them. We sometimes see that with TV shows as well, but then again, a lot of them were based on comic books as well. So yeah, so
it's just retreading stuff, you know.
yeah.
How many films are just reimagined versions of other older films?
Yeah. So I've got one last comic to kind of
awesome
talk about, and we had John Lee's writer of this hotel series from AWA, this new American publisher, and he told us quite a bit about that and how he came to be working with them. So his is the first series from this publisher that's actually finished. It's got to its end. So there's a whole bunch of other stories. Red Border, Archangel, Devil's Highway.
Red Border really soon. I think I'm picking up Red Border 4 next week. I think that's almost finished.
Yeah. So this one, just again recap, is set in a little hotel off Route 66 in America, and it's a place that seems to attract people with problems. And when they go there, their problems kind of magnify, and they've got to really deal with them in a very horrific ways. And something that I've enjoyed the series. In fact, I really love the series. I love it better now that number 4 is out, because the one thing that niggled me was in issue 1, the story at the end I wasn't satisfied with the ending of it. But that's all fixed in this one, because this one kind of, as we've seen in previous episodes, kind of there's little bits of the other stories intertwined with them. And this kind of pulls it all together. And I remember a few weeks ago finding this picture of a clown hotel somewhere in America. And I tweeted it to John Lee saying the only thing that could make hotel scarier was if it had scary clowns in it. And you know what? What have we got in issue number 4? But a scary Pierrot clown. And
John Lees does know his scary clowns as well, though, doesn't he? Like
he does. It's not the first time he said scary clowns. Yeah. But the clue's been there all along, because it's called the Pierrot Hotel, and Pierrot is that style of clown, you know, with the white makeup and the frills and stuff. So the clue is always there.
That's something that John talked about quite a lot when we had him on the show as well. That he has these ideas well before he has them. So that's quite clever writing. That something's niggled you, but then ultimately,
yeah. And I should mention what this story is about this time. It's about these two men. One's a priest, and the other guy is a father of a boy. And they arrive at the hotel, and they've got something bundled in the boot, and they take it in, and it's the man's son, who he believes has been possessed by some sort of demon, and the priest is there to exorcise the demon. And they've gone to this remote part of America, booked into this remote hotel to do this, so it doesn't disturb people. But of course, things are more complicated than that. And scary clowns.
And scary clowns. It's good. I think you've lent me issue 1. I've not read it yet, but you've talked quite early of the sub series this year. Definitely seems to be one of the comics that I think, just even from listening to you've really enjoyed. I mean, we've got the 4 issues, and you've revisited the series twice. So
yeah, I'm excited about it. If you can get all 4 issues, then go out and get it. But I do believe that it's coming out as a trade in October. I think I heard it was coming out in October, which might be an ideal sort of Halloween gift to yourself if you like horror comics. And John does horror very well.
You should check out Red Border as well. AWA editorial staff are former higher ups in the editorial staff of Marvel. They know what they're doing, and they're trying something I think quite exciting over in the States.
That's right. Axel Alonso
gets
interviewed in the back page of this comic. Is the guy behind it all?
Yeah. And this has been, he's thrown the gauntlet down to, and providing opportunities for exciting independent comic writers to put some really good stuff together. And I generally think John Lees is one of the best writers I know in comics. And it's amazing that he's been recognised by somebody to an extent. I think AWA's got again, we said earlier about the 77. I wonder, it'd be exciting to see where they are in a year. I would say the same with AWA as well. It's been quite a weird year for comics, but I think it'll be interesting to see how AWA pull out of this and where they go in the next year.
Yeah, they seem to have a lot of new stories coming out. They've got something called Bad Mothers, a new one. Archangel, which I hadn't seen in the shops. Year Zero seems to have been sold out so many times. It's been going for silly money on eBay. Issue 1 was Year Zero, yeah. As far as I'm aware, I've seen a few people posting about it, trying to get copies of it. So they seem to be on a winner.
Totally, that's good for them. That's really good. What else is happening in the world of comics before we finish up? What else have you done this week?
What have I done this week?
Or just
what I always do every week, I write comics and I draw comics. I have finished off drawing a story, which we'll tell you about sometime.
Yeah.
When that's coming out. I'm in the middle of writing a script, which has been commissioned. So I've got to finish that. I've got another week to finish that. Other exciting things is that I do have a pitch for the 77, because they kind of put out a post asking for what other types of stories would you like to see. And, my thing's war stories. And I've had this little niggling idea for a war story, which I wouldn't even pitch it to Commando because it's just not their thing. Yes. It's gritty, ruthless stuff, probably more in the line of Garth Ennis's war stories. So I've kind of put together a 3-part story.
Yeah.
Fairly quickly, but I had this boiling away in my head for probably about a year, so I pretty much knew where it was going to go. I've sent you the script for part 1, so if you haven't read it, have a look through it.
I haven't yet, because you only sent it like a couple hours ago. You told me about it last night, and I was like, "Oh, this is good."
Yeah, it's fun, and it's
good. No, it's I from your description, it minded me of, I don't know, when you were telling me, and obviously there's. You ever see The Dirty Dozen?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Of course.
It minded me of it's a classic, but my one of my favourite bits of The Dirty Dozen is obviously the mission at the end. So obviously until you get to it's maybe I remember when I've been quite young seeing The Dirty Dancing. I was quite young when I saw Dirty Dancing as well. It's a completely different film. when I saw Dirty Dozen, I remember it's a relatively bog standard, albeit very entertaining, war espionage like training movie for the first maybe hour and a half, and then when they go on their final mission, which is the one that they're training for, which they'll get, if they survive they'll be pardoned kind of jam. You realise how controversial and actually how borderline, well, not even borderline, how really shit the mission is. Like, it's really immoral what they're asked to do.
Yeah.
And when you were talking about this last night, it reminded me of, I think because obviously who the target is in the Dirty Dozen is probably quite similar to the kind of establishment that is the setting of your story. But that's kind of what reminded me of this kind of debauchery. It's still war, but there's that other kind of the upper class debauchery side of it, which is amazing to read about. And I'm really excited when you told me that story. When you told me about the pitch last night, and then obviously you sent me the first part today, and I was like, "Oh, that's exciting stuff."
Upper class debauchery mixed in with war.
Yes,
that's not how I described it, but yeah. That's the setting for the first part.
That's sure. Cool. That's exciting.
Wouldn't necessarily always be there, but but I wanted something that was going to just grab your attention from the beginning, and you go, "Oh boy, I want to read the rest of this."
I can see why you're not pitching it to Commando,
though. No, definitely not. I don't think any mainstream comic would take it. I think the 77 might at a push.
That'll be good though. And I'm going to love this thing in a couple of years' time when folk are trying to check out Colin Maxwell stuff, having read like some of your Commando comics stuff, and then they stumble across one.
Yeah. Oh, let's get this one. This looks interesting. This is a wartime story. Holy shit! Page 2. Oh my god!
That's a good thing, though, man.
What's happening there?
It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. Aye, that's good. Awesome.
Anyway, so what have you been doing, Jeff?
I went back to work, so I'm glad that you were able to cover the what we've been reading in comics thing almost single-handedly, because I haven't read any comics since. I mean, I read it in AD, but I'm like 8 weeks behind, which became quite stressful because I just managed to get 2000 AD read this week, knowing that I've got another 2 to pick up from a local comic shop on Saturday. No, I finally finished the script to my issue 2 of my series, The Spirit of Enki. Thanks to some amazing work from my editor / shadow editor that is you. So thanks for that. Looking at my last part and just making the adjustments you made were really good, and suggestions you made were really good. So I was really happy with that. So I've incorporated that, and my whole issue 2 is now with the artist Jordan. So he's been sending me stuff, and it's looking really good. So I'm hoping that sort of early to mid-September. I wasn't going to. I've said this before. I wasn't ever really considering going down the Kickstarter route for issue 2, but with there not being any conventions to
sell
issue 1 and generate income for it. So I think I'm going for like I'm thinking maybe mid-September, sort of the 5th to the 15th ish, and doing a nice like flashy 2 week low amount of time, low amount of money requested, just to cover the rest of the art cost, and a bit of printing, and then hopefully issue 2 of The Spirit of Enki will be out in October. So
cool. I don't think I'll be doing any Kickstarters for the rest of the year. I'm just too busy with other stuff.
Yeah, well, you have been. I've been really proud of you for that, man. It's been awesome. That's what I've done. It's interesting how doing your own stuff can affect the ability to enjoy the other stuff. Like I get quite scared looking at my reading pile as it just expands, and then you come and see me every so often, and you're like, "Oh, I've just finished this. Here you go." And I'm like, "Oh," and this goes. I'm a teacher, so I'm only a week into the new term, and I read a lot during the holidays, so I'm looking very much forward to my October holidays. So it's about 2 months away. So
Yeah, God knows what I'll be doing then. In fact, I do know I'm doing a talk about drawing comics and things in the October holidays. I've been invited to go and do a talk through Zoom.
That's amazing, man. That's really exciting.
And I don't know if I'll be doing any other talks, because I did one at the local library and stuff. Had I don't know, 70 people or something turned up to that. It was incredible. So I might get signed up to do one of them again. And I had a visit last year to Montrose Air Station and did a talk about World War II comics. So possibly I might be going and doing some of them once kind of lockdown eases a bit and these places are open. So quite looking forward to doing them. Quite enjoyed doing that. It's nice to go and kind of meet people that have got an interest in what it is that you do. If you're going to go to a talk at like an RAF museum, then you're into it. And it's good to kind of talk to these types of people. And it's amazing when you go along and you get talking with people and they've got amazing stories to tell that just spark a little idea. And I think, there's another story I could write at some point.
That's amazing, man. That's exciting.
Anyway,
let's go. I'm wearing my tiny rebel socks.
You've got tiny. Oh, that you got in the beer box. Yeah.
That's all I've got to say. You're like, oh, I'm going to do these amazing talks at these museums. I'm like, I just looked down at the floor. I was like, oh, where are my tiny rebel socks? Okay. Next week we may have a guest. I've really enjoyed just blethering, though. It's nice just to talk beer and comics and what's going on.
Mm-hmm. So, we'll try and get some guests. But as you said earlier, as lockdown easing and people going back to work and kids are going back to school and stuff, people are busier. And it's just becoming a little difficult. I've got one guest lined up, but it's not going to be on a Thursday because he just can't do Thursdays. But that's a couple of weeks' time. So that's quite interesting because that guy's a producer, editor, doing lots of interesting things on quite a big scale across the country. So I'm looking forward to that. No spoilers just yet, but we'll let you know in due course.
Thanks for saying. Okay then. That sounds amazing. I'll see you soon.
Cheers.
Cheers.